Hey guys, what's happening? Thanks for tuning in and watching, coming back. Really appreciate it. Hope you're having a great day. And in this video, I'm going to walk through a workflow in Topaz Studio. So I've been using Topaz Studio more and more. I'm having a lot of fun with it. There's a link down below. It is a free product by Topaz Labs, and it includes 10 adjustments, or what I would call filters, but it includes 10 adjustments for free. Now, they have a lengthy list. I think it's 24, what they call pro adjustments, and those are things you would have to purchase. And I'm sure that's how they make their money with the product. But even so, the free version is very solid, and the 10 filters are very useful. In this workflow, I'm going to walk through. I've got one free filter and 3 that you have to purchase that are pro adjustments. But I'm just kind of demonstrating some of the things you can do in Topaz Studio because it's really powerful. It gives me using it sort of creates different ideas in my head sometimes that I maybe wouldn't think of using other products, right? And so let me walk through a little bit of that, and here we go. So this is a photo I shot here in Austin. It's literally just some graffiti on a wall, but it's really cool graffiti. And in fact, this piece, there used to be 3 or 4 of them around town, and I walked by here the other day, and I don't think that's there anymore. So I'm glad. That's the beauty of photography, my friends. Like, things disappear, and we got to go out there and capture them like right now, so that if they're ever gone, we can say, "Hey, look how great it was." So the first thing I did is I cropped the photo a little bit. I purposefully shot it to include that window on the left and that door on the right. Sorry, my eye's bugging me. Even though they, to me, they sort of give structure or a little bit of anchoring kind of element to the photograph. I could have zoomed in fact I did. I took some just of the graffiti, but that's more of a square crop, and it's, I don't know, to me it's a better sense of place seeing it like that. So anyway, that's what I did, and whatever, we're gonna move on. So what I did is I took that photo, and then with 4 filters in Topaz Studio, I turned it into that. And so it's a much more artistic interpretation, obviously richer tones, warmer tones, a little bit of grunge, and I did some other sort of creative stuff. So let me reset the filters, and then I'll walk you through the workflow here. Okay, so here we are. The 4 filters, as you can see: precision contrast, color overlay, edge exposure, and smudge. Now, 3 of those you have to purchase. That would be precision contrast, edge exposure, and smudge. I don't know what the prices are. They're on the Topaz website. You can look down below. If you use my name, Jim Nix, as a coupon code, you do save 15%. And that's an affiliate link. So if you purchase anything or use my coupon code, I make a small commission, which is kind of a free way to support all these free videos I do for you. Your cost is the same either way, just to be clear. Those are the 4 filters I use. So let me jump into these. The first thing I did was precision contrast, which I absolutely love. And I did a video about this recently, and I'll put that link up here. But basically, it gives you just really incredible control over the contrast. And let me turn this off again. So if you look at the details in the wall and in the sidewalk, they're not as prevalent. And now they're much more prevalent once I turn on that filter. And that's one of the things I like about precision contrast. It's creating that perception of a detail and kind of structure and depth, really, in the photo, which I think is great. So I kind of went through that, gave all micro, low, medium, and high areas a little bit of bump in contrast. And as you can see here, took down some shadows and highlights and added a little bit of saturation. So pretty simple, straightforward. And the truth is, filters like this, there's not a, here's what you do every time kind of thing. It's really just experiment, see what works, see what suits your eye or your taste or your mood, whatever it is, and then, go with it. And that's kind of what I did here. So again, I went from that to that pretty quickly. Now the next filter is color overlay, and this is a free filter. In fact, let me show you. If you click on adjustments, the ones at the top here, which is basic adjustment through vignette, anything that's above this little gray line right here, those are the free filters, and they come included with the free download of Topaz Studio. All the filters below that line, from abstraction right here all the way down to texture, those are pro adjustments, and so you would have to purchase them individually. And again, you can use my name as a coupon code to save some money. Color overlay is a free one, and so let me show you what I did. I clicked on that, and hey, Jim, oh, that's kind of orange, and it is. Let me show you what I did, and then I'm going to correct some of that orange. So color overlay, as the name implies, is you're picking a color and you're laying it over your photo. So you're just basically In this case, I wanted to create warmer tones, so you're just creating a warmer look all the way across the image. However, I didn't really like it just like, well, let me back up before I do that. There are some presets built in. So there's this cool shadows. You can see green, overlay, milky white, red cast, and sepia. But I went in fact, it defaults to opacity 100. I've adjusted opacity too. So I reset that. So, okay, so you click on that, your color wheel opens up, and you've got a couple of options here, and this is not a detailed tutorial on that, but you just drag this little like bullseye looking thing, you just drag that around to the color you want. And this slider down here below is basically it's kind of a brightness slider. So to the left is the brightest version of that, whatever color you've chosen, and to the right is the darkest, right? So I was back over here in the really bright, and then you just say okay, and there's your orange color. But here's the thing, I thought it was too orange, and so yes, I did change the opacity, but the first thing I did is I created a luminosity mask. So I went here into masking, and I'm just going to turn it on and show you. And you see the difference there? Let me show you the before, really orange, and now after, much more subtle implementation. And the reason why is because I used a luminosity mask. You can see that here. It's an icon or a representation of your image with the luminosity mask on it. So if you're not familiar with luminosity mask, I have not yet done a video about luminosity masking in Topaz, but it is there and it's really cool and really powerful. And the best thing you can do is just jack around with it. Just get in there and click on a luminosity mask and see what it does to your photos. But let me explain what it is at a very basic level. A luminosity mask is a mask that's based on luminosity or light values. And so the mask is going to be applied more heavily. In other words, the effect will apply more heavily in the areas that are lighter or more luminous, and it's going to apply less heavily in the areas that are darker or less luminous. So as you can see here, it's picking up the areas that are darker, and it's picking up the areas that are brighter, and it's applying my choice of that orange color based on the light values across the image. That's a simple way to explain it, and there's probably a whole lot of technical stuff behind really how they're built and how they work. And to be really honest, I don't care. I mean, I like luminosity masks. I think it's important to understand kind of what they are and how they work, but I don't get into the super techie stuff. So I'll come back and do a video about them at some point. But for purposes of this video, just all I did is I clicked on luminosity mask and it built it automatically, and I was happy with it. You can invert it. This little button here, if you just hover over it, it says invert mask. So let me just show you. Changes the mask, right? So in this case, it's applying more heavily to the bright areas, less heavily to the dark. So I inverted it. I applied it a little bit more heavily to the dark areas and less heavily to the bright, simply because there's less dark, and therefore it was less that crazy orange all over the photo, which is not what I wanted. I just wanted slightly warmer look to the photo, and I was able to get that with the color overlay and the luminosity mask. So once you have that, you just say you're done. And in this case, I went to the opacity slider, and that's on every filter, and I just took that down. I think it was at like 75 or something. I'll just leave it there at 78. But basically, you're just reducing the intensity of that entire filter on the image. So I took it from 1.0, or let's call it 100, to 0.78, or 78%. So 22% reduction in intensity, right? So there's that. So now I've got those two filters. The next thing was edge exposure. This is a really cool pro filter. It basically, as the name implies, allows you to experiment and jack with, that's a very technical term, the exposure values around the edges of the frame. So let me show you what I did. It's kind of like adding a vignette, except you have a lot more control in terms of the intensity. So let me show you. Like many of the filters, maybe all of them, I'm not sure, you have some presets. So you can do black edges, red edge, white edge, or yellow edge. I generally do things myself. I like to have a little bit more control than most presets. Sometimes I'll take a preset like that and use it as a starting place. But all you do is, there's 4 buttons here, and if you click on them, you'll see right now it says right exposure, and I'm on that, the box that's the biggest is the one that's highlighted. So notice I clicked on this. If you hover over it, it says adjust the left edge, and all I did is I took it from 0 to 0.36. So I was at 0. If you look at that left edge, no exposure, and I went to 36, I think it was, something like that. And it's darker. So I'm basically, darkening that left edge. And then I just did the same thing. I went over here, that's the top edge. I went to 53. I went to this one, the bottom, I went to 37, and the right, I went to 37 again. All you do is you just move it to you get it where you like it. You can increase the size of them as well. So I'm on the right, so I could really make that big. I generally just kind of leave that right in the middle, and the transition as well, right? So I don't really mess with that either. I just kind of do that. Also note you can set one and then click apply to all, which is helpful, right? I did them all a little bit differently, maybe slightly, but it's generally you're going to do them all the same. So you just click one, fix it how you like it, and say apply to all, and you're done. You can also mess with color strength and color, which I did not do here, but that was the edge exposure. So I went from that fairly bright to this, where I'm kind of get that burned edge look, and I think it goes kind of well with the warmer tones. Just a personal preference. And then here was my last step, and that was the smudge filter. And smudge is basically, it creates fluid lines. I did a video, and I'll put that link up here before, where I basically said, Topaz Studio saved this photo, something like that. And basically what it was a single exposure daytime shot that had water in it. And the water was just kind of choppy. And I don't know, choppy water to me is just kind of boring. I like smoother, more fluid water because it's fluid. Hence, I'm a fan of long exposures. However, I didn't have my filters. I shot this handheld, that photo I'm talking about in that other video. And so I used the smudge filter to create a more fluid look in the water, and then I just painted it in with the masking tool, with the brush mask. It's a beautiful and easy implementation. You can check it out in that video. Here what I did, let me turn it on. All I did is I went into smudge, and I bumped up the strength to 22, and then I went into the mask, and as you can see, I just was on brush mask, and I just went in and I erased it from specifically the graffiti itself. You can see how the mask is represented here. Black conceals, white reveals. So black is concealing that smudge. In other words, the smudge is not being applied to where it's black, which is basically the graffiti itself. The smudge is being applied to everything else, which is the white, which is everything outside of the mask or the graffiti, right? And so that was what I did there. So my mask, I think, is looking good. And then you can just take the strength, and as you can see, the strength is, as the name implies, the strength of the adjustment. And if you look, let me just turn this off. Look at the walls over there, and look at the concrete sidewalk. I'm going to turn that off. Kind of clear, a little bit crisp. And all I'm doing is creating a little bit more fluid look. And in fact, I kind of like this maybe better than I had it that way. But strength is the overall strength. Extent is how extensively fluid are the lines. Are they really fluid, or are they only kind of fluid? And as you can see, I'm kind of negative here. Let me show you. If I go really positive, they'll get much more fluid, right? So kind of like that. So I don't want that. I kind of want a little bit less fluid. All I'm really trying to do here, and the fact that it's a centered photo on a piece of graffiti on an otherwise blank wall, your eye is pretty much drawn to the center anyway, but I wanted to do this to kind of help draw your eye in, to kind of obscure some of the detail in the areas around the wall and that sidewalk, just to get them so they're not visually distracting, right? So I don't know if I achieved that, but my eye, when it's no smudge filter, I kind of want to look at that window, and I kind of want to look at the door. I'm wondering, is somebody going to come out of that door? And of course, I'm going to look at the graffiti because it's front and center, and it's a skull and crossbones. I mean, you can't not look at it, right? It's clearly the subject of the photo, but I just kind of wanted to create a little bit more obscurity around the other stuff. And with the smudge, I think I did a little bit of that. I didn't make it too heavy-handed, but anyway, that's what I did. So, once more, I'll show you. Here's the before. Daytime, walking down the street, minding my own business. Hey, that's pretty cool graffiti. Click, a little crop, a little time here in Topaz Studio, and I turned it into something that's a bit more artistic, a little bit more subject to my whim or my mood. I've edited this photo before for my own personal use, not for a video that I can recall at least, and I edited it completely differently, which is part of the fun, as I said, of using Topaz Studio. I come up with ideas that I never came up with before. And that's part of the beauty of Studio. So one more time, there's the original, regular kind of stuff, and there's the the after, if you will. The only other thing I wanted to point out is you have the effect opacity here that allows you to change the opacity of everything that you've applied to the photo. So I could take it down to like 0, which means none of my edits are going to apply. And at 1.0, or what I like to call 100%, it's basically completely on there. So if you like it, if you think it's a little heavy-handed, but you don't know what to adjust, just take the opacity slider, for the entire photo, which is the one at the bottom, back it down a little bit. In fact, I think that looks kind of good right there. So maybe a little bit more. I kind of like what I had. But anyway, you can just play around with it. That's part of the fun of Topaz Studio. And that's it for this video. Just wanted to do kind of a workflow, I guess, just having fun with a photo, and I wanted to share it. Hopefully it gave you some ideas. Hopefully it gave you some visibility into some of these pro adjustments that you may or may not have. They're super fun to play with. I'm going to keep doing more videos about Topaz Studio. Don't forget, if you purchase any pro adjustments, use coupon code GYMNIX to save 15%. Helps me a lot. I really appreciate it, and I'll keep coming back making more videos. Like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, call your mom, all that good stuff. Thanks for watching, my friends, and I'll see you real soon. Have a great one. Take care, and adios.